The void, typically a canvas of silent, indifferent stars, shimmered with an unnatural light. It began as a faint distortion, a ripple in the fabric of space itself, then swelled with astonishing speed into a vast, intricate fleet. Hundreds of vessels emerged from the folds of interstellar transit, each a marvel of engineering, sleek and gleaming. And they arranged themselves with terrifying precision around the Sol system's outer markers. They were colossal structures of polished obsidian with glowing emerald conduits, resembling nothing so much as a celestial armada carved from a single, impossibly complex jewel. This was the glorious Zenith Concorde, and they had arrived. A single, colossal flagship, even larger than the rest, rotated slowly. Its primary broadcast array locked onto Earth, on the bridge of the Asterisk Pathfinder's Venture Asterisk, a human deep space exploration vessel repurposed for planetary defense. Chief Operations Officer Alara Vance watched the display with a curious mix of awe and a familiar, weary sigh. She had witnessed countless anomalies in her decades among the stars, but this was undeniably in a league of its own. "Incoming hail, direct and unencrypted," reported Ensign Jax, his voice tight with disbelief. "Universal Translator indicates a full-spectrum, multilingual broadcast. They are announcing themselves." Alara leaned forward, a half-empty mug of lukewarm space coffee in her hand. Her dark eyes, usually bright with an almost restless intelligence, were now narrowed, scrutinizing. "Put it on the main screen, full audio. Let's hear what our new neighbors have to say." The vast primary display flickered, then resolved into the image of an alien being that dwarfed even the largest human on the bridge. It stood on a platform of swirling light, its form a complex crystalline structure of interlocking facets, cycling through hues from deep sapphire to shimmering amethyst. Its head, a crown of spiraling horns, bore no discernible mouth, but its voice, resonant and deep, filled the bridge. "Greetings, inhabitants of designated Sector Gamma 7, planetary designation Terra Nova," the being intoned, its voice echoing with an almost religious solemnity. "We are the Grand Zenith Concorde, the harmonious unipheres of the known galaxy, custodians of order and architects of progress. For millennia, our benevolent reach has extended, bringing structured prosperity to over 2,000 stellar sovereignties. You have now been identified for integration." A collective intake of breath swept across the Asterisk Pathfinder's Venture Asterisk bridge. Jax's eyes were wide. Commander Eris Thorne, usually a bastion of academic calm, coughed into his hand, a sound that might have been a stifled chuckle. Alara, however, simply took a slow sip of her coffee. Did I hear that correctly?" Alara murmured, her brow furrowed not with fear but genuine confusion. "Are they demanding we surrender right now after just saying hello?" "Sounds like it, Chief," Jax whispered back, a faint smile playing on his lips. "They called us Terra Nova too. Bit presumptuous, aren't they?" Commander Eris Thorne, a lean, perpetually curious xenolinguist and cultural anthropologist with a disheveled shock of brown hair, leaned towards Alara's station. "Fascinating. A clear display of a highly rigid, hierarchical, and self-aggrandizing cultural paradigm. Note the lack of inquiry, the immediate declaration of unilateral intent, and the presumption of a singular, superior truth. Textbook imperial overreach, but with a surprising lack of preamble." Alara keyed her calm. "Grand Strategos, or whatever your title is," she began, her voice calm, respectful, but utterly devoid of subservience. "This is Chief Operations Officer Alara Vance of the Terran Exploration Directorate. We appreciate your introduction. However, I believe there might be a slight misunderstanding." The crystalline entity, which had been perfectly still, shifted subtly, its facets rippling with a faint, internal light. "Misunderstanding? Explain yourself, human. The Concorde's directives are unambiguous." "Well, you see," Alara continued, gesturing vaguely towards the alien fleet on the main screen, We're not really looking to be integrated right now or ever, frankly. We're quite happy with our own system of governance, imperfect as it sometimes is. And our military assets are, you know, ours. And as for your protocols, we've got our own way of doing things. It might seem a bit chaotic to you, but we like it. The crystalline being's internal light intensified, shifting to a more agitated crimson. This is a non-standard response. The glorious Zenith Concord does not offer options. We offer betterment. Your species has been observed to possess nascent spacefaring capabilities and a volatile social structure. Our integration is designed to avert your inevitable self-destruction. Eris Thorne couldn't help himself. He leaned into the comm pickup. Actually, Grand Stratego's volatile is kind of our superpower. We thrive on it. Innovation, progress, even art, often springs from what you might consider chaos. We've found a certain beauty in the unpredictable. The alien paused, its shifting colors momentarily freezing in a stark, bewildered white. Beauty in chaos. This concept is illogical. Order is the fundamental principle of cosmic harmony. Our empire has eradicated Cha. We learned pretty quickly that the best way forward is to let people figure things out for themselves. Messy, yes, but it's our mess. The crystalline entity's facets began to vibrate with visible irritation. Your refusal to accept benevolent unification will necessitate a reevaluation of your designation. From potential integrates, you shall be recategorized as uncooperative primitives. This is a grave designation, human. It carries consequences. We're familiar with consequences, Alara replied, her voice still calm, a hint of steel just beneath the surface. But we're also familiar with something called unilateral declarations of cosmic benevolence that often turn out to be simple power grabs. We've had a lot of practice dealing with those, too. The alien's voice grew colder, harsher, its resonance now edged with an unmistakable metallic scrape. The glorious Zenith Concord has never known failure in its benevolent mission. Our fleets are invincible. Our strategic calculations are flawless. You stand at the precipice of a momentous choice. Embrace the enlightened path, or be disintegrated from the cosmic tapestry. Alara's expression didn't change. She gestured to Jax. Jax, any changes to their formation? Are they actually powering up weapons? Negative, Chief, Jax reported, his fingers flying across his console. Still holding defensive posture. Their power signatures are stable, all rhetoric, no action, yet. As you were then, Alara said, then addressed the screen once more. Grand Strategos, with all due respect. Wave! This is a matter of universal order. We have brought peace to countless warring worlds. We have elevated species from stone tools to stellar empires. Your petty defiance is an insult to millennia of Concordian progress. Eris Thorne chimed in again, his tone genuinely helpful, almost academic. With all due respect, Strategos, perhaps your definition of peace and progress is simply different from ours. We consider a species that can argue vehemently about what toppings belong on pizza, but still band together to rebuild after a superstorm, to be progressing rather nicely. It's a dynamic kind of peace, not a static one. The alien's voice crackled with what could only be described as incandescent rage. Pizza. What is this pizza you speak of? Culinary preferences in the face of galactic unification. This is the behavior of primitives, of fools. Alara suppressed a grin. Well, fools have managed to get pretty far in the galaxy, Grand Strategos. We've got a rather robust history of stumbling into brilliance through sheer, pig-headed curiosity and a refusal to take things too seriously. We've learned that sometimes the biggest threats aren't out there in the void, but in believing you have all the answers. A low, collective murmur of stifled laughter spread through the Pathfinder's Venture bridge. Even Jax had to cover his mouth. Ilara allowed herself a small, knowing smile. This was humanity in a nutshell. The Grand Strategos, however, seemed utterly incapable of processing this response. Its form solidified into a menacing, dark violet, its resonance deepening into a guttural growl. This is intolerable. Your species is clearly unsuited for polite discourse. You shall witness the true meaning of Concordian might. Prepare to comprehend the gravity of your insolence." With that, the immense image of the crystalline being vanished, replaced by the still imposing view of the Concordian fleet. A low hum. Then, before human eyes, a dazzling beam of pure energy, thick as a major river and brighter than 1,000 suns, erupted from the flagship. It arced across the simulated void, striking the moon with an impact that caused the very bridge of the Pathfinder's venture to shudder, even though it was only a simulation. The simulated moon did not explode. It disintegrated, not into pieces, not into dust, but into nothingness. The entire celestial body simply ceased to exist, replaced by a momentary blinding flash that left behind only the dark void where it had been. The display lingered on the empty space, a stark, terrifying demonstration of unimaginable destructive power. A new, chillingly calm voice, presumably the Grand Strategos', echoed over the calm. "You have witnessed the Concordian annulment beam, human, a force capable of erasing celestial bodies from existence. This is but a fraction of the power at our disposal. Consider this a final, benevolent warning. Do you now comprehend the wisdom of our unification?" On the bridge of the Pathfinder's venture, silence reigned. Jack stared at the blank screen, his jaw slightly ajar. The tactical officer swallowed hard. Eris Thorne, for once, seemed to have no witty anthropological insights. Ilara Vance, however, simply tilted her head. She looked at the empty space on the screen, then back at her crew. A strange glint entered her eyes. "Jax," she said, her voice surprisingly steady, almost conversational. "Bring up the footage from the Europa Reclamation Project for our guests. The Class Roman 7 Industrial Reclamation Drill. Loop it. And put Captain Eva Rostova on a private comm line for me." A new kind of hum, deeper and more resonant, began to emanate from the human ship's core. The stars outside the viewport, usually so distant and cold, suddenly seemed to watch with bated breath. The glorious Zenith Concorde, with its invincible fleets and its universe-erasing weapons, had presented its ultimatum. And Ilara Vance, Chief Operations Officer of a lone human exploration vessel, was about to offer a rebuttal that might just break their ancient, rigid minds. The galaxy, unbeknownst to the Concorde, was about to discover what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable, perpetually amused and surprisingly resourceful object. The simulated moon had vanished, leaving only a dark, empty void where a celestial body once spun. The silence on the Asterisk Pathfinder's Venture Asterisk bridge was absolute, save for the rhythmic thrum of the ship's distant engines. Jax stared, pale-faced, at the blank screen. Commander Eris Thorne, for once, had no academic quip. The annulment beam, a force capable of erasing celestial bodies from existence, hung heavy in the unspoken air. Ilara Vance, however, simply tilted her head. She looked at the empty space on the screen, then back at her crew. A strange glint entered her eyes, not of fear, but of an almost mischievous recognition. "Jax," she said, her voice surprisingly steady, almost conversational. "Bring up the footage from the Europa Reclamation Project for our guests. The Class Roman 7 Industrial Reclamation Drill. Loop it. And put Captain Eva Rostova on a private comm line for me." A new kind of hum, deeper and more resonant, began to emanate from the human ship's core. The stars outside the viewport, usually so distant. "This is footage from the Europa Reclamation Project, Grand Strategos." Ilara's voice came over the calm and even-toned. "Captain Eva Rostova's crew, they've been working on it for a few years now." On the screen, the Class Roman 7 Industrial Reclamation Drill. a monstrous contraption of articulated arms and titanic boreheads began to operate. It sunk its primary drills into Europa's thick ice crust, not with a flash of energy, but with a grinding, rumbling roar that vibrated even through the Pathfinder's Venture S speakers. Chunks of ice, some the size of small buildings, were systematically scoop. A vast, intricate network of transparent tunnels and geodesic domes slowly spread across the icy moonscape, glowing with soft, internal lights. Inside some of the newly formed biomess, one could even discern tiny, nascent green shoots and miniature, controlled atmospheres. "It's really efficient, actually," Alara continued, as if discussing home appliances. "That particular model can process about a cubic kilometer of ice and rock per standard week, converting roughly 80% of the mass into usable construction materials and atmospheric components. The remaining 20% is waste, mostly dense silicates, which we just eject into stable orbits as inert space debris. Or, if we're feeling fancy, we use smaller displacement drives to just make it disappear." She gave a pointed look at the blank space where the Concorde's simulated moon had been. Silence from the Concorde's end. Then, the Grand Strategos' voice, now high-pitched with an almost frantic disbelief. You convert entire celestial volumes into habitat modules, and you call the waste inert space debris. Your annulment beam merely vaporizes this. This reorganizes reality on a massive scale. "Well, yeah, it's handy," Alara said, nodding. "We've got a couple of smaller versions clearing out some particularly stubborn asteroid fields in the Kuiper belt too. Less glamorous work, but it really helps with orbital safety." Commander Eris Thorn, unable to contain himself. This is illogical. Such technology, capable of altering celestial bodies, is a weapon of unimaginable power. To use it for habitat modules and orbital safety, it defies all strategic rationale. "Strategic rationale," Alara chuckled softly. "Grand Strategos, we're humans. Our strategic rationale is usually how do we make life a little bit easier and maybe build a better place to live. And sometimes that involves moving mountains or making new ones." The comm channel remained open, but no response came. On the display, the Concordian fleet, previously so rigidly aligned, showed subtle signs of disarray. Small energy fluctuations pulsed through their conduits, not of anger, but of extreme system overload. Several ships subtly shifted formation as if their internal processing units were struggling to cope. "Chief, I think we broke their paradigm," Jax whispered, a grin spreading across his face. "Their comms are reporting multiple cascading system errors, and I'm picking up something that sounds like existential dread." "Good," Alara said, a satisfied hum in her voice. "Sometimes the best way to win a fight is to show your opponent that they're fighting the wrong battle entirely. Eris, anything else you'd like to add for the historical record?" Eris Thorn cleared his throat. "Indeed, Strategos." "Alert me to any change in vector or power signatures," Alara said. "And get Captain Rostova's full report on the Europa project. I'm curious if she's made any progress on that ice-drilling pizza oven." The alien fleet, after several agonizing hours of what sensors indicated was a frenzied internal debate, finally began to move. Not towards Earth in a renewed assault, but deeper into the void, away from the Sol system. Their withdrawal was not an orderly retreat, but a somewhat staggered, almost hesitant movement, as if they were still processing what they had just witnessed. Days passed, then a week. The Concordian fleet remained in deep space, maintaining a distant, watchful posture. No new threats, no demands, just an unnerving silence. Then a new message came through, not from the Grand Strategos, but from a lower-ranking Concordian official, its voice strangely subdued. "Greetings, Terran. We'll pick them up at the Sol 3 orbital marker." A collective sigh of what sounded like relief swept over the alien comm channel. "Agreed, Terran. Grand Monitor Xyler and his 2 research adjutants will be ready within 2 solar cycles. 2 days later, a small, elegant Concordian shuttle, stripped of its usual armaments, arrived at the designated rendezvous point. The Asterisk Pathfinder's Venture Asterisk dispatched a standard human transport shuttle to meet it. On board the human shuttle was not a military escort, but a team led by Dr. Lena Petrova, a renowned xenopsychologist known for her boundless optimism, and a penchant for wearing brightly colored sweaters, accompanied by Lieutenant Commander Ben Carter, a logistics officer who could fix anything with a roll of duct tape and a shrug, and a quiet, unassuming human historian named Dr. Kenji Tanaka, who carried an old-fashioned leather-bound notebook and a fountain pen. When the Concordian delegation, led by Grand Monitor Xyler, a being of intricate, rotating gears and polished bronze, perpetually humming with internal calculations, stepped onto the human transport, their initial reaction was a series of rapid, high-pitched clicks, their equivalent of a gasp. The human shuttle, while perfectly functional, was a study in utilitarian design. With exposed condu, this is unprecedented. Such informality. The journey to Earth's surface was equally bewildering for the Concordians. The human shuttle rattled slightly on atmospheric entry, the viewports offering a dizzying panorama of swirling clouds and deep blue oceans. As they descended towards a major human population center, New York City specifically, the cityscape below exploded into view. "Observe, Grand Monitor," Dr. Petrova announced, gesturing to the sprawling metropolis. "This is one of our planetary hubs. A significant portion of our population resides here." Xyler's optical sensors widened, taking in the chaotic symphony of skyscrapers, the winding ribbons of traffic, the pulsating lights, and the sheer, overwhelming density of individual human life forms. But there is no apparent order, no geometric precision in the construction. The vehicular movement is haphazard, and the noise levels, they are extreme. Ben Carter, busy checking flight readouts, shrugged. "Yeah, it's rush hour. Everyone's trying to get somewhere, we figure it out. Traffic lights courtesy, a lot of honking." "Honking," Xyler's gears spun wildly. "A auditory aggressive signal. Is this a form of social combat?" Dr. Tanaka, who had been quietly sketching the cityscape, looked up. "Sometimes, but mostly it just means move it or lose it, or hey, I'm here. It's an expression of individual agency, you could say." As the shuttle landed on a designated skypad atop a corporate tower, the cacophony intensified. Humans rushed past, talking loudly into comms, laughing, some even singing. Street vendors bellowed, emergency sirens wailed in the distance, and music throbbed from various establishments. The air was a complex mix of exhaust fumes, street food, and rain. Xyler and its adjutants, their bronze forms stiff with alarm, were immediately overwhelmed. "The sensory input is intolerable. Where? Art!" They visited a local community garden where humans completely voluntarily cultivated food and shared it with their neighbors without any centralized directives or profit motive. This charity," Xyler buzzed, observing a human sharing a sandwich with a homeless person. "It is not commanded. There is no reward for this action. Why does it occur?" Ben Carter, who was helping a lost tourist read a map, answered without looking up. "Because it feels good, Grand Monitor. Most people like helping other people. Makes the world a better place." "A better place?" Xyler's form vibrated with confusion. "But without rigid enforcement, without a hierarchical structure to dictate benevolence, this is chaos." "Maybe a little," Dr. Petrova conceded, offering a human child a high five. "But it's asterisk our asterisk chaos, and it works. Mostly." By the end of the day, Grand Monitor Xyler's bronze chassis was buzzing erratically, its optical sensors flickering. Its adjutants had retreated into a tight huddle, their internal humming a cacophony of distress. But If all are free to choose, how do you prevent divergence? How do you prevent the unraveling of societal cohesion? Dr. Petrova stepped forward, her bright sweater a stark contrast to Zeiler's muted bronze. We don't prevent it, Grand Monitor, we embrace it, we adapt, we learn, we innovate, and sometimes we just laugh. Because the universe is too big, too strange, and too wonderful to take ourselves or anyone else too seriously all the time. Zeiler's internal hum dropped to a barely perceptible tremor, its optical sensors fixed on Dr. Petrova, then on Dr. Tanaka, then on Ben Carter. It looked at the bustling, chaotic, happy city around them. This cannot be, Zeiler whispered, its voice sounding almost defeated. This is the most terrifying thing I have ever witnessed. A civilization that thrives on asterisk joy asterisk and asterisk unpredictability asterisk. With a sudden, violent lurch, Grand Monitor Zeiler's entire frame pulsed with a deep, unsettling crimson. Its internal gears began to grind with alarming speed, a high-pitched whine emanating from its core. Its optical sensors flared, then dimmed, then flared again, erratically. The two adjutants recoiled, their own humming increasing in alarm. Grand Monitor, one adjutant whirred nervously. Grand Monitor, the adjutant shrieked, rushing to its side. Unit Zeiler has ceased primary function. It appears to have suffered a full system collapse. Dr. Petrova exchanged a look with Ben Carter and Dr. Tanaka. Did we break it? She murmured, a hint of concern in her voice. Ben Carter knelt beside the silent Grand Monitor, tapping its chassis. Seems like it might have overheated, or maybe its internal logic circuits just couldn't handle the concept of pure, unadulterated human joy. The adjutants, their forms trembling, looked up at the humans. You have incapacitated our Grand Monitor, one shrieked. This is an act of war. This is asterisk uncategorizable asterisk. Dr. Tanaka sighed, reaching into his satchel for his old-fashioned fountain pen. Well, he said, pulling out a fresh page in his notebook. Looks like we just added another entry to the long list of things the glorious Zenith Concorde couldn't quite compute. He began to sketch the now silent form of Grand Monitor Zeiler, a thoughtful, somewhat amused expression on his face. The Concordian adjutants, after a moment of stunned silence, scooped up their unresponsive leader and rushed back to the human shuttle. Their reports back to the... As the human shuttle returned to the Concordian delegation's vessel, and the alien ship began to move away from Earth, a new, frantic message burst onto the asterisk Pathfinder's Venture asterisk S main screen. It was the Grand Strategos, its multifaceted form pulsing with an agitated mixture of purple and crimson. Terrans! The Grand Strategos boomed, its voice echoing with renewed fury, but also a tremor of something new desperation. Your methods are unacceptable. You have corrupted our monitor. You have presented an existential threat to the very fabric of Concordian order. This cannot stand. We will demonstrate true galactic discipline. On the main screen, the Grand Strategos' flagship, already a colossus, began to undergo a terrifying transformation. Massive, segmented panels slid open along its hull, revealing an intricate network of glowing conduits and pulsating emitters far larger and more numerous than anything seen before. The entire fleet began to rearray, not in a destructive formation, but into a gargantuan, impenetrable shield wall, each vessel locking into the next, forming an impossibly vast, glittering barrier that dwarfed any single planet. It pulsed with a contained energy that made the very vacuum of it. It was an impossible barrier, a blockade on a scale that defied imagination. The ultimate display of control designed to enforce order by isolating the chaotic. But as she looked at the impenetrable wall, a peculiar thought crossed her mind. She turned to Eris Thorne, a glint in her eyes. Eris, she said, her voice surprisingly light. didn't we just finish the feasibility studies on the new interstellar recreational cruise lines? You know, the ones that specialize in experiential space tourism beyond charted territories. Eris Thorne, his eyes wide, slowly nodded. Indeed, Chief, and our engineers were just about to finalize the prototypes for the new quantum-fold jump drives for the luxury liners. They're designed for, well, for leisurely deep space travel, of course. Elara grinned, a mischievous sparkle in her dark eyes. Excellent. Jax, get me Captain Ava Ramirez of the Cosmic Wanderer on the line and tell her to prep for a shakedown cruise. Destination: anywhere outside this rather uninspired wall of theirs. Oh! She looked at the empty space on the screen, then back at her crew. A strange glint entered her eyes, not of fear, but of an almost mischievous recognition. "Giant," she said, her voice surprisingly steady, almost conversational. "Bring up the archived footage from the Proxima Centauri B Habitat project for our guests. Loop it. And put Engineer Commander Rhys Davies on a private comm line for me." A new kind of hum, deeper and more resonant, began to emanate from the human ship's core. The stars outside the viewport, usually so distant and cold, suddenly seemed to watch with bated breath. On the main screen, the stark blackness gave way to a violent, alien landscape. Proxima Centauri B, a world still raw from its formation, spun slowly, its magma flows and volatile atmosphere bathed in the angry red light of its sun. Then, a colossal human machine entered the frame, dwarfing the molten plains. It wasn't sleek like the Directorate vessels, but brutally functional, a titan of reinforced alloys and massive, radiating heat sinks. It looked less like a ship and more like a mobile industrial complex, churning its way through the planet's surface. "This is footage from the Proxima Centauri B Habitat project, Grand Architect Prime." Ayla's voice came over the calm and even-toned. "Engineer Commander Davies' crew, they've been working on it for a few cycles now. On the screen, the matter weave constructor, a monstrous contra." What happened next was not an explosion, but a transformation. From the rear of the colossal constructor, a shimmering, opaque mist began to emanate, coalescing slowly into complex, crystalline structures. These structures, built from the very rock and atmospheric gases the constructor consumed, extruded outwards, forming transparent domes, intricate frameworks, and eventually the beginnings of habitable biomass. In mere minutes, the desolate, hostile plains began to sprout with nascent, human-made ecosystems, warmed and illuminated by internal conduits. "What? What is this?" The Grand Architect Prime's voice, now laced with bewildered confusion, came over the comm. This is not a weapon. It consumes and reshapes." "Nope, not a weapon at all," Ayla replied cheerfully. "That's our matter-weave constructor. Commander Davies and her team are using it to extract minerals and atmospheric components from Proxima Beta's crust. And then they're repurposing the processed materials on site to build new habitat modules and terraformable biomass. It's part of our ongoing effort to expand human presence sustainably throughout nearby star systems." On the screen, the constructor continued its steady, relentless work. A vast, intricate network of transparent tunnels and geodesic domes slowly spread across the volcanic moonscape, glowing with soft, internal lights. "Inside some of it." She gave a pointed look at the blank space where the Directorate's simulated moon had been. Silence from the Directorate's end. Then, the Grand Architect Prime's voice, now high-pitched with an almost frantic disbelief. You convert entire celestial volumes into habitat modules, and you call the waste inert space debris. Your obliterator beam merely vaporizes this. This asterisk reorganizes asterisk reality on a massive scale. "Well, yeah, it's handy," Ayla said, nodding. "We've got a couple of smaller versions clearing out some particularly stubborn asteroid fields in the Oort cloud, too. Less glamorous work, but it really helps with orbital safety." Strategist Kalen Vance, unable to contain himself, leaned forward. You see, Architect Prime, where you apply raw destructive force, we apply ingenuity for constructive purposes. Your beam asterisk ends asterisk things. Our constructors asterisk begin asterisk things. It's a fundamental difference in approach. Why destroy when you can build? The Grand Architect Prime seemed to short-circuit again. Its previous rage was replaced by a digital stutter. This is illogical. Such technology, capable of altering celestial bodies, is a weapon of unimaginable power to use it for habitat modules and orbital safety. It defies all strategic rationale. Strategic? Art? Captain, I think we broke their paradigm, Giant whispered, a grin spreading across his face. Their comms are reporting multiple cascading system errors, and I'm picking up something that sounds like existential dread. Good, Ayla said, a satisfied hum in her voice. Sometimes, the best way to vanquish an opponent is to show them that they're fighting the wrong battle entirely. Kalen, anything else you'd like to add for the historical record? Kalen Vance cleared his throat. Indeed. Architect Prime, perhaps you'll find it amusing, but humanity's true strength isn't in our weaponry. It's in our ability to look at a problem and ask, not how do we eliminate it, but how do we change it? And often, we do it while complaining about the regulations and whether there's enough hot tea. The comm channel clicked, then disconnected. The image of Proxima Centauri B and the tireless Matter-Weave constructor faded, replaced by the Directorate fleet, now visibly unsettled. Looks like they're reconsidering, Ayla mused, or having a collective nervous breakdown. Either way, progress. She turned to Giant. Keep a close eye on them. Alert me to any change in vector or power signatures, and get Commander Davies' full report on the Proxima project. I'm curious if she's made any progress on that integrated atmospheric pizza oven. The alien fleet, after several agonizing hours of what sensors indicated was a frenzied internal debate, finally began to move. Not towards Earth in a renewed assault, but deeper into the void, away from the Sol system. Their withdrawal was not an orderly retreat, but a somewhat staggered, almost hesitant movement, as if they were still processing what they had just witnessed. Days passed, then a week. The Directorate fleet remained in deep space, maintaining a distant, watchful posture. No new threats, no demands. Just an unnerving silence. Then, a new message came through. Not from the Grand Architect Prime, but from a lower-ranking Directorate official, its voice strangely subdued. Greetings, Terran. We require a deeper understanding of your methodologies. Our previous assumptions have proven inadequate. We request permission to send a delegation. Not for integration, but for observation. A cultural exchange, if you will. Ayla raised an eyebrow. A cultural exchange, she repeated, a ghost of a smile playing on her lips. Well, that's a new one. What sort of cultural exchange did you have in mind? Our chief emissary of axiomatic logic, Unit Omicron, wishes to observe your social constructs firsthand, the alien replied, its voice still hesitant. To ascertain the basis of your peculiar stability. It believes direct observation is required to categorize your species within the Directorate's taxonomic framework. Kalen Vance leaned over. They still want to categorize us, Captain. They just don't know how anymore. Ayla nodded. All right, tell your chief emissary Unit Omicron that we welcome a delegation, but no more than 3 individuals, and they travel on one of our transports, not their own, and no weaponry beyond ceremonial sidearms. We'll pick them up at the Sol 3 orbital marker. A collective sigh of what sounded like relief swept over the alien comm channel. Agreed, Terran. Unit Omicron and its 2 analytical adjutants will be ready within 2 solar cycles. 2 days later, a small, elegant Directorate shuttle, stripped of its usual armaments, arrived at the designated rendezvous point. The Asterisk spirit of Discovery Asterisk dispatched a standard human transport shuttle to meet it. On board the human shuttle was not a military escort, but a team led by Dr. Lyra Solis, a renowned xenoculturalist known for her boundless enthusiasm and a penchant for wearing brightly colored scarves, was accompanied by operations lead Marcus Mac Carter, a resourceful problem solver who could fix anything with a roll of flexible sealant and a shrug, and a quiet, unassuming human folklorist named Dr. Hiroki Sato, who carried an old-fashioned leather-bound journal and a fountain pen. When the Directorate delegation, led by Chief Emissary Unit Omicron, a being of intricate, rotating crystalline facets and polished alloys, perpetually humming with internal calculations, stepped onto the human transport, their initial reaction was a series of rapid, high-pitched clicks, their equivalent of a gasp. The human shuttle, while perfectly functional, was a study in utilitarian design, with exposed conduits, scuffed floor plating, and a distinct aroma of freshly brewed coffee. There were no grand halls, no glittering displays. This is a diplomatic vessel? Unit Omicron buzzed, its facets rotating faster. Where are the ceremonial guards, the structural integrity fields, the atmospheric purification protocols? Dr. Solis, resplendent in a vibrant emerald scarf, smiled warmly. Oh, this is just a standard transport, Chief Emissary. We keep it simple. It helps us get to places efficiently, and no need for ceremonial guards. We trust our guests. Welcome aboard. Would you like a coffee? Or perhaps a synthesized nutrient paste? Omicron's internal hum intensified. This is unprecedented. Such informality. The journey to Earth's surface was equally bewildering for the Directorate beings. The human shuttle rattled slightly on atmospheric entry, the viewports offering a dizzying panorama of swirling clouds and deep blue oceans. As they descended towards a major human population center, Kyoto specifically, the cityscape below exploded into view. "Observe, Chief Emissary," Dr. Solis announced, gesturing to the sprawling metropolis. "This is one of our planetary hubs. A significant portion of our population resides here." Omega's optical sensors widened, taking in the chaotic symphony of skyscrapers and traditional architecture, the winding ribbons of traffic, the pulsating lights, and the sheer, overwhelming density of individual human life forms. But there is no apparent order, no geometric precision in the construction. The vehicular movement is haphazard, and the noise levels, they are extreme. Mac Carter, busy checking flight readouts, shrugged. "Yeah, it's rush hour. Everyone's trying to get somewhere. We figure it out. Traffic lights, courtesy, a lot of horn signals." Horn signals? Omega's facets spun wildly. "A auditory aggressive signal. Is this a form of social combat?" Dr. Sato, who had been quietly sketching the cityscape, looked up. "Sometimes, but mostly it just means move along or attention. It's an expression of individual presence, you could say." As the shuttle landed on a designated skypad atop a cultural center, the cacophony intensified. Humans of all ages and sizes strolled along paths, meditated by koi ponds, or simply sat in companionable silence, observing the natural beauty. Children laughed as they played near waterfalls, skipping stones across still pools. They are not engaged in productive labor, one of Omicron's adjutants whirred. They are merely engaging in recreational pursuits. This is inefficient. What is the purpose of such idleness? The purpose, Dr. Solis chuckled. The purpose is relaxation, contemplation, joy, living. We find that happy people are generally more effective when they are working. It's the essence of everything, really. But how do you measure joy? Omicron demanded, its optical sensors focusing on a group of humans laughing uproariously over a shared tea ceremony. It is not a quantifiable metric for societal efficiency. Dr. Sato closed his journal for a moment. We don't quantify it, Chief Emissary. We experience it. It's the essence of everything, really. The Directorate beings spent the next several hours in a state of growing perplexity. They observed a human community festival, where individuals vociferously debated local issues and openly celebrated diverse cultural expressions, a concept so alien to them that Omicron's internal facets seized up multiple times. They witnessed a spontaneous musical performance, where humans created intricate melodies and rhythms, drawing a crowd that swayed and clapped in unison. Because it feels good, Chief Emissary. Most people like helping other people. Makes the world a better place. A better place. Omicron's form vibrated with confusion. But without rigid enforcement, without a hierarchical structure to dictate benevolence, this is chaos. Maybe a little, Dr. Solis conceded, offering a human child a friendly wave. But it's our chaos, and it works. Mostly. By the end of the day, Chief Emissary Unit Omicron's alloy chassis was buzzing erratically, its optical sensors flickering. Its adjutants had retreated into a tight huddle, their internal humming a cacophony of distress. This society defies all known directorate principles, Omicron finally declared, its voice strained. There is no absolute authority, no central control of information. Your cultural expressions are based on shared enjoyment. Your entertainment involves creative spontaneity for no productive gain. You argue with your local leaders. You choose your own paths, and yet you persist. You appear. Content. Dr. Sato, ever the folklorist, finally offered a thought. We call it freedom, Chief Emissary. It's messy, it's loud, it's unpredictable, but we think it's worth it. We've found that true order isn't imposed from above, it emerges organically when people are allowed to be themselves. Omicron stood still. This cannot be, Omicron whispered, its voice sounding almost defeated. This is the most terrifying thing I have ever witnessed, a civilization that thrives on joy and unpredictability. With a sudden, violent lurch, Chief Emissary Unit Omicron's entire frame pulsed with a deep, unsettling crimson. Its internal facets began to grind with alarming speed, a high-pitched whine emanating from its core. Its optical sensors flared, then dimmed, then flared again, erratically. The two adjutants recoiled, their own humming increasing in alarm. Chief Emissary, one adjutant whirred nervously. Your processing units are exceeding safe thresholds. Recommend immediate recalibration. Omicron, however, ignored them. Its gaze was fixed on a group of human children playing a game of tag, their laughter echoing through the garden. They are not regulated, Omicron buzzed, its voice rising to a frantic pitch. They are not performing assigned functions, they are simply asterisk playing asterisk. And they are asterisk happy asterisk. A loud asterisk crack asterisk echoed from Omicron's core, followed by the acrid smell of ozone. The Chief Emissary's internal lights flickered, then went out entirely. Its alloy form slumped, its facets ceasing their frenzied rotation. It stood utterly still, a perfectly rendered statue of a being overwhelmed. Or maybe its internal logic circuits just couldn't handle the concept of pure, unadulterated human joy. The adjutants, their forms trembling, looked up at the humans. You have incapacitated our Chief Emissary, one shrieked. This is an act of aggression. This is asterisk uncategorizable asterisk. Dr. Sato sighed, reaching into his satchel for his old-fashioned fountain pen. Well, he said, pulling out a fresh page in his journal. Looks like we just added another entry to the long list of things the rigid Galactic Directorate couldn't quite compute. He began to sketch the now-silent form of Chief Emissary Unit Omicron, a thoughtful, somewhat amused expression on his face. The Directorate adjutants, after a moment of stunned silence, scooped up their unresponsive leader and rushed back to the human shuttle. Their reports back to the Grand Architect Prime would be interesting. On the bridge of the asterisk spirit of Discovery asterisk, Ayla Thorne received the preliminary sensor data from the shuttle. Captain, Chief Emissary Unit Omicron's bio readings are stable, but its primary processing core has flatlined. Jian reported, barely suppressing a laugh. Its adjutants are reporting catastrophic illogical data input and are requesting immediate departure. Ayla leaned back in her chair, a slow smile spreading across her face. Well, I suppose that's one way to end a diplomatic. Terrans, the Grand Architect Prime boomed, its voice echoing with renewed fury, but also a tremor of something new desperation. Your methods are unacceptable. You have corrupted our monitor. You have presented an existential threat to the very fabric of Directorate order. This cannot stand. We will demonstrate true galactic discipline. On the main screen, the Grand Architect Prime's flagship, already a colossus, began to undergo a terrifying transformation. Massive, segmented panels slid open along its hull, revealing an intricate network of glowing conduits and pulsating emitters far larger and more numerous than anything seen before. The entire fleet began to rearray, not in a destructive formation, but into a gargantuan, impenetrable shield wall, each vessel locking into the next, forming an impossibly vast, glittering barrier that dwarfed any single planet. It pulsed with a contained energy that made the very vacuum of space hum. "Captain!" "Kalen," she said, her voice surprisingly light. "Didn't we just finish the feasibility studies on the new interstellar recreational cruise lines? You know, the ones that specialize in experiential space tourism beyond charted territories." Kalen Vance, his eyes wide, slowly nodded. "Indeed, Captain, and our engineers were just about to finalize the prototypes for the new fold space navigation arrays for the luxury liners. They're designed for, well, for leisurely deep space travel, of course." Ayla grinned, a mischievous sparkle in her dark eyes. "Excellent. Jian, get me Captain Lei Chen of the Stardust Voyager on the line and tell her to prep for a shakedown cruise. Destination: anywhere outside this rather uninspired wall of theirs. Oh, and tell her to pack plenty of snacks. We wouldn't want our first interstellar tourists to get bored." Outside, the rigid Galactic Directorate's impenetrable blockade shimmered, a testament to unyielding order and control. But within the Sol system, a human exploration vessel hummed with a different kind of energy. The game had just changed. And humanity, it seemed, was still very much enjoying the show. The rigid Galactic Directorate's impenetrable blockade shimmered, a testament to unyielding order and control. An immense, glittering barrier stretching across the void, it dwarfed any single planet, pulsing with a contained energy that made the very vacuum of space hum. This was the Grand Architect Prime's ultimate display. "Excellent," Ayla replied, a slow, knowing smile gracing her lips. "Patch me through. And Jian, activate external comms to the Directorate flagship. Let's make sure they have a front row seat to our peculiar stability." On the screen, Captain Lei Chen's face appeared, framed by the plush interior of a luxury cruise liner's bridge. Unlike the utilitarian spirit of Discovery the Stardust Voyager was designed for comfort and leisure. Its control panels were intuitive touchscreens displaying scenic. "Terrans, you mock our containment. Your leisure vessel cannot breach the shroud. It is an unyielding bulwark of axiomatic control. A testament to Directorate might." Ayla simply held up a hand to Lei Chen, a silent gesture to let the Architect Prime finish its pronouncements. "No species has ever circumvented a Directorate-imposed containment," the Architect Prime continued, its multifaceted form pulsing with indignant purple light. "Your primitive concepts of uninhibited transit are irrelevant before the might of structured cosmic law." Lei Chen, still smiling, simply spoke into her own calm. Stardust Voyager to bridge. Initiate fold space jump sequence, standard departure protocols, and perhaps dim the interior lights for optimal stargazing during transit per luxury suite specifications. On the main screen, the Stardust Voyager Hey, surprising! The glittering wall remained perfectly intact, undisturbed, still pulsing with its contained energy. But the asterisk Stardust Voyager asterisk was gone. Silence descended upon the Directorate's flagship. The Grand Architect Prime's voice, which had been mid-sentence in a boast about the shroud's invulnerability, abruptly ceased. Its multifaceted form flickered wildly, the purple and crimson hues giving way to a frantic, discordant strobe of all its colors. On the asterisk spirit of Discovery *S bridge, Jian Lai stared at the empty space where the asterisk Stardust Voyager asterisk had been, then at the still intact Directorate blockade. His jaw dropped. It just went through it, like it wasn't even there. Fold space navigation array, Jian, Ayla explained calmly, a deep satisfaction in her voice. Doesn't so much punch through barriers as it bypasses them. Creates a microfold in spacetime around the vessel, allowing it to navigate parallel dimensional space for extremely short durations. A blink and you're on the other side. Minimal energy expenditure, much smoother for the passengers. The Grand Architect Prime began to vibrate violently. This is impossible. Our etheric containment shroud bends reality itself. It is axiomatic. It is absolute asterisk. Lei Chen's calm, cheerful voice chimed in from beyond the shroud. Oh, it's quite absolute, Architect Prime. Temporal synchronization, micro-jumps for wine tasting. This defies all known principles of interdimensional travel. Such power for leisure asterisk. Strategist Kalen Vance, leaning over Ayla's console, couldn't resist. You see, Architect Prime, where you sought to impose limits, we sought to expand possibilities. Your containment strategy was fundamentally flawed because you thought the only way to overcome a barrier was to destroy it. We just found a way to go asterisk around asterisk it. Or asterisk through asterisk, a different dimension. Makes for much more interesting travel logs. A loud asterisk clang asterisk echoed through the Directorate's comm channel, followed by a torrent of panicked, multitonal chattering. The Grand Architect Prime, Captain, I believe the rigid Galactic Directorate has just discovered the ultimate truth of the universe. Humanity isn't interested in playing by anyone else's rules, especially when there are new places to see and new experiences to be had. The Directorate's immense, shimmering blockade remained in place, a silent monument to a broken ideology. But it was no longer a threat. It was a joke. An impossibly grand, terribly serious, and utterly futile joke. Days later, the silence from the Directorate's side was broken not by threats, but by pleas. An unending cascade of communication requests flooded human channels, not from the Grand Architect Prime, whose primary processing core had, apparently, suffered a permanent, joy-induced logic. Dozens of Directorate vessels, from small scout ships to mid-sized cruisers, began to break formation from the still-standing, yet utterly meaningless, etheric containment shroud. They approached the Sol system, transmitting frantic messages of peaceful intent, requesting permission to land. Captain Thorne, a newly designated Humanity Liaison Officer, a young human named Maya Singh, reported from Earth Command, her voice brimming with barely suppressed amusement. We're receiving an unprecedented number of defection requests. They're not asking for technology or resources. They're asking for instruction in the philosophy of personal choice, seminars on recreational activities, and guidance in achieving uncontrolled societal happiness. Ayla grinned. Tell them we've got plenty of space and we're happy to share, just no more axiomatic fortresses. We're all out of luxury cruise liners to test them on. The first waves of Directorate refugees arrived on Earth, bewildered by the sheer, vibrant chaos of human life. They stared in awe at children playing in parks, at spontaneous street performances, at the sheer, overwhelming, unquantifiable joy that seemed to permeate every aspect of human existence. They? I have observed your unpredictability and your laughter, and I have come to realize my calculations were flawed, terribly, utterly flawed. Ayla waited quietly. I wish to understand fun, Zircon continued, its voice breaking with something akin to genuine confusion. I wish to comprehend choice. I wish to learn what it means to be something other than an instrument of rigid, unyielding order. I wish to know. Asterisk, why you laugh, asterisk? The rigid Galactic Directorate did not fall because of war or rebellion. It fractured and dissolved because its core tenets were exposed to a reality they could not compute. Its citizens, from the lowest data entry drone to the highest grand architect, discovered there was a better way to live. They learned that genuine happiness was more potent than imposed order, that self-governed freedom was infinitely more valuable than enforced security, and that the ability to find humor in the absurdities of existence was, truly, the most powerful force in the universe. And it all happened because humanity couldn't stop being human, even when faced with the might of an ancient, seemingly invincible galactic empire. As Dr. Lyra Solis, now teaching interspecies, cultural exchange classes. 2. The old order had perished, not with a bang, but with a bewildered, confused whimper, replaced by the joyful, messy, wonderfully unpredictable hum of a galaxy awakening to the possibility of truly being free. Humanity, having inadvertently sparked a galactic revolution by simply existing, looked out at the newly vibrant cosmos. There were so many new jokes to share, so many new species to perplex with their chaotic brilliance. And somewhere, out in the vast, boundless void, the asterisk Stardust Voyager asterisk was likely still cruising along, its passengers enjoying the interdimensional views, perhaps even indulging in a zero-G stand-up comedy show, blissfully unaware of the entire empire they had just, quite casually, brought to its knees.